Shabbos Daf Menvov. How's everybody doing? I hope you're staying safe and healthy. We finished off yesterday saying there's a story where a menorah fell on Ravasi and he refused to move it with his hand. He said it was muktzah. What kind of muktzah? So we try to say perhaps it's called a muktzah of kviyas makom. Since it's a large item, it has a designated spot. You don't move from that spot, it's muktzah. Says the Gemara, but what do you do about kilas chasanim? It's a tent that you build over a bed. The top is narrower than a tefach, so we don't have a problem of building an oil on Shabbos. You're allowed to put it together on Shabbos and take it apart on Shabbos. But how can you touch it? It's muktzah, kviyas makom. You see that there is no muktzah called kviyas makom. So then why didn't Ravasi move the menorah? The answer is because if it was a menorah that came apart and you could put back together, then certainly that would be muktzah. But we're dealing with a menorah that just looks as if it could come apart. So they made a gzeira on such a menorah because of a menorah that could come apart. And if it's a really small menorah that could come apart, machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan says, even though it usually doesn't come apart, we have to be geyser on a small menorah. And Rish Lakish says, since it doesn't come apart, nobody's going to confuse it with a menorah that comes apart, and you don't make a gzeira. We said that Rabbi Yochanan holds, like Rabbi Yehuda in Muktzah, that there is Muktzah. The issue is that Rabbi Yochanan always paskins like the Stam Mishnah, like anonymous Mishnah. And the Mishnah of Muchni that we had the other day, the wheel that detaches from the wagon, one of the halachas we learned is that if there was money, even ben hashmashos, inside the wheel, and the money was removed, you can move it on Shabbos. That goes according to Reb Shimon. So on the one hand, the Stam Mishnah is Reb Shimon, but Rabbi Yochanan paskins like Rabbi Yehuda. Says Reb Zera, we must learn, even though it's a doichak, that the Mishnah is talking about that there's no money during ben hashmashos, and that's why you can move the wheel on Shabbos. But if there was money during ben hashmashos, in fact, the wheel would be muktzah, like Rabbi Yehuda that says, "Migad iskatzoi ben hashmashos, it's katzoi lekula yoyma." Rishon Levi said that Rebbe said a very cryptic statement. He said that a menorah is like a ner of Reb Shimon. Menorah is Reb Shimon ben ner, meaning it could be two meanings. Either there was one psak halacha or two. Either the psak halacha was that a menorah is not muktzah, like Reb Shimon says that a candle that was lit and it was extinguished on Shabbos, the candle is no longer muktzah. So in other words, a menorah is mutter. Or he said two statements. A menorah is aser. A candle is mutter. The Gemara remains in a teiku. The Gemara tells us that Reb Malkiah, and at a different time, Reb Yossi Glila, both acted like Reb Shimon, that there was no muktzah in front of the Rabbeim, and both the Rabbeim were makbin on them. On the other hand, Reb Avo, even though he himself held like Reb Shimon, but when he was in front of Reb Yochanan, out of respect to Reb Yochanan, he acted like Reb Yehuda that there is muktzah. Machlokes, Reb Yehuda says that if you have an earthenware lamp that's full of oil, it doesn't get disgusting, and therefore it's not muktzah, you're allowed to be metaltal. But if it has neft, kerosene, so it is muktzah. Now, we're not talking about muktzah machmas mius, because Reb Shimon doesn't hold of muktzah machmas mius. What we're discussing is since there's no other use for this candle, because it's disgusting, therefore it's like a stone that has no other use, and it's muktzah. In other words, muktzah machmas gufay. Rabbi and Rav Yosef both hold that you're allowed to carry, you're allowed to be metaltal, a lamp that was used with neft. So the Gemara tells us an amazing story. Rav Avia went to visit Rava, and he had a lot of mud on his shoes. And they sat him down, they said, sit down on this bed, and he put his shoe on the bed and put a lot of mud on the bed. And this upset Rava. And Rava decided he's going to torture Rav Avia with questions to punish him. Some server has a beautiful pshat, you should look into it. And he asked him, why is it that Rabbi and Rav Yosef both say that a lamp that was used with neft, with kerosene, is not muktzah? So he told him, because you could use that lamp for another usage, you could cover another kli with it. So he said, wait a minute, but what about all stones in the world? They're very muktzah, but you could use them to cover kalim. He says, Rav Avia, no, there's a big difference. This lamp has a name of a kli on it, where a stone is not a kli. And I'll prove it to you from a Mishnah. The halacha is that a woman is not allowed to walk out on Shabbos with beautiful jewelry. She might show it to her friends. But in her own chutzner, she's allowed to move it. Why? Because, Ula explains it has a name of a kli. So anything that has a name of a kli is not muktzah. Says Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak, Birach Rachmana, Baruch Hashem, that Rava wasn't successful in embarrassing Reb Avia. The halacha is that if a person has a firstborn animal, cow, sheep, it goes to the kohen, and the kohen brings it to the Beis Hamikdash. But if it befalls a mum, then the kohen could shecht it outside of the Beis Hamikdash. It says to do what he wants. What if he finds the mum on Yantif? It's muktzah according to Reb Shimon. Question: why is this bechar different than oil that's left over in a lamp that Reb Shimon says is not muktzah? Says Gemara, there's a big difference. Oil that's left in a lamp, when he lights the lamp, he knows that he might have leftover oil, so he thinks about that oil and he wants it. So that's why it's not muktzah. But an animal, a bechar, there's 3 reasons why he's not even thinking about it. First of all, who says that this animal will have a mum? And even if it has a mum, who says it will be a mum kavua, a permanent mum? And even if it's a permanent mum, who says he'll find a rabbi that'll tell him that it's a good mum and he could shecht it? What about a woman who makes a neder on Shabbos? It could be mefer or matter the neder. What if her husband doesn't agree? Says the Gemara, because when a woman makes a neder, she's doing it al das her husband. And what about a man? How could you be made for his neder on Shabbos? What if he doesn't find a rabbi? Because he doesn't need a rabbi. He could just find 3 simple people to be matter his neder. In the Mishnah it says, we learned that according to Reb Shimon, if the fire is still lit, even Reb Shimon says it's muktzah. Why? The answer is because it becomes a basis l'davar asur. The lamp supports the flame, which is muktzah. The pshat is not because we are concerned that perhaps, like Rashi explained in the Mishnah, we're concerned perhaps he will extinguish the flame by mistake, because Reb Shimon holds the davar she'eino miskaven mutter. If you don't think about it, that's not your intent, then you're not chayev. In other words, if a person drags a bench, he's trying to bring it from point A to point B, but by doing so, he creates a groove in the ground, he's potter. And don't say that there's an afkumina between the Iraisa and the Rabbanan. Extinguishing a flame is the Iraisa, and moving a bench, shaloi kederech, making a groove in the ground is not the derech to do so. So it's only is it the Rabbanan. Perhaps that's why it's mutter, but in the Iraisa, Reb Shimon would say it's asur, because we have the case that we had last week or so. If a person is peddling his goods, his clothing, and they're shatnas, says Reb Shimon, he's allowed to wear shatnas if he's not mechaven to be over to wear the clothing. If he's not being protected by the elements from the sun and the rain, it's mutter. So you see that even at the rice of shatnas, as long as you don't have kavana, Reb Shimon says it's mutter. Have a wonderful day.